Today's July 1st, 2018. Get ready for the Emerging Sea broadcast system. The Forbidden History series, what they didn't want you to know, but we tell right here. Still time to call your friends, ladies and gentlemen. You wanted to know, didn't you? Well, it's what they didn't want you to know that we tell right here. Please note that the following views and the opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily the views nor the opinions of the Master Force Group, YouTube.com, Free America Radio, our sponsors, our partners, and MFG is a private society, and nothing here was ever to be construed as medical nor legal advice. And listen to the Forbidden History prime time, twice a day, 7 days a week, right here on therealpublicradio.net, because hidden beneath the sands of time lies the greatest of all mysteries. It's the Forbidden History. Unearth for yourself the secret truths that lie hidden just beneath the surface below our feet. What is it that the powers that be do not want you or I to know? Come and journey with us as we explore and dare to know, because it's all right here, coming your way, twice a day, 7 days a week, at 9 a.m. every morning, and 8 p.m. every evening, Eastern Time, on the Forbidden History series. What they didn't want you to know, but we tell right here, because somebody's got to do it, right? Okay, I'm just a guy that's able to do it. And stand by for the broadcast. Still time to call your friends. Coming to you live from Studio Z at the Lighthouse in Central Ohio, and Free America Radio Network in the land of dreams, enchantments, and nightmares. It's the Forbidden History series. What they didn't want you to know, but we tell right here. The great lies of history. The piracy of words. The original thought transliteration project. The real Da Vinci Code etymological dictionary. And a whole lot more, ladies and gentlemen, with your host, Desert Owl, and that is yours truly. And I want to welcome our listeners that are already tuned in, and those who will be tuning in for what's left of the rest of mankind, which may not be much longer, ladies and gentlemen. And, you know, it's easier to lie to people than it is actually to convince them that they've been lied to. And if I don't know that is a fact, I don't know what is, okay? Because I know I've been trying all of my life to get people to see and read it for themselves, to come out from under the spell, come out wherever you are, and breathe the fresh light of revelation, and be able to think and process for yourself, and don't just regurgitate what other people are telling you, because the truth is beyond anything we could ever imagine. The whole history, basically, we have been fed is a lie. It is an illusion. Just a little bit of spicy truth in there with a whole bunch of lies, and especially about who's running the show, and how they do it. You know, they got you so busy going to war all the time, go to war, next war, righteous war, good war, better war. You know, and then they kill us at the same time while they're trying to justify their wars. It's a wonderful world, Mr. Smith. Oh, that was the one of the primary names of the secret agents that infiltrated our society through the secret measures. That's why the you know, the place where they bring all the archaeology and then it seems to disappear after they brought it there, the Smithsonian. Oh, the zone of the Smith zone. Okay, yeah, and also there's a few other code names. You know, like, you remember, because it was the movie Alias Smith and Jones was another one. Not to say that anybody named Jones today is, you know what I mean, but they now have multiplied, right? Because, you know, they took on those names and had families, but there were very few at the first. You know, same with the word Johnson. Johnson is another interesting one, because the occult, like John the Baptist, and in fact we just went through the summer solstice, and it was the celebration of St. John's the Baptist Day, the third day of the summer solstice, June 24th. When the Grand Lodge unified all of international Freemasonry under one umbrella, the Grand Lodge, in 1717. Was it 1717? Yeah, I believe it was 1717. And so St. John, they call it St. John the Baptist Day. The reason being is they want to put the head of John the Baptist back on. They actually think if they could destroy all of Christianity somehow, and kill Yahweh and Yashulamva, the great Elohim, if they could somehow destroy them by destroying all their materials, by killing all their people, then they will be able to put the head of John the Baptist back on, turn the clock back, and have their occultic power again they had in the old dark world. But it ain't going to happen, because what did it say in the scriptures? That all power was given unto him. He is with us always, even unto the end of time, and that the gates of the grave and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. Hey there, Martha, and thank you, Lynn, also for your heads up here, okay? And, well, you've got more than a heart for people. You've got multiple hearts going on there. Look at that. So, such wonderful people, I've been on these other YouTube channels, and there's people there tearing each other down, and I've never seen so much love on one channel other than the one right here, the Forbidden History series. People that have dedicated their life towards serving the Heavenly Father. They love truth, and so I'm pinching myself, to be have so many wonderful new friends, and hopefully one day we get to talk on the phone, or you call in. Maybe you'd be a caller, and if anybody wants to do that, the number 608-566-7295, 608-566-7295. And because I do want a caller generated program, I'd be happy to take call after call if they started coming in, because if you got a question, if you've been trying to figure something out, there's little time. And so just maybe, I'd already been down that road. Maybe the Father has helped me to see something clearly in regard to what you're trying to figure out. He's using me. Okay. And so, you can use me too, because that's what I'm here for, to share. Our Skype name is Free America Radio, all one word, Free America Radio. And you can also text at the same time. I'm getting a little concerned with not having that audio play yesterday with Dane Wigington. So I'm hoping that the audio will work on Skype. I've got to do a test eventually when I know somebody that can help me out in that department. And then if you have a comment or a question, then, so you can put, I should have added, the word comment. Let me write that on my 3x5 card here. So if you have a comment or a question, comment. Well, there's, in other words, it's directed towards me. You can put question in all capital letters, colon, and then a question mark, or, the word comment. You can also, put that in questions. If it's something that, you specifically want me to read, if it's more specific, especially to the, to the current dialogue that is occurring. But the questions really can go in any direction, as far as, and you don't have to put comment on there if you want to make a comment. It's not like you got to be so dogmatic about it, but definitely if you got a question, put it in all capital, capital letters, because that way it'll draw my attention before it passes by. Okay. And so, well, we've made it this far, ladies and gentlemen. I thought things would have been over, like, when they talked about Y2K in the year 2000, and they tricked us into thinking that all the computers were going to fail. And hey, good to have you, love. Good evening, hello, and good to hear from you as well. She's our good friend out in Germany, and she must be up pretty late right now. So let's see, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it's like 2 in the morning over there in Germany right now. So she's just obviously just going to say hello and probably head off to La La Land real quick. And so, geez, I better get on with the program here. So the duality in the patterns of pictures that we were talking about, ladies and gentlemen, I've got. Is that a new type of happy face, y'all love? Or I think it is, probably. So how is that which is false? How that, we're talking about how that which is false has taken over the truth. What is the, grand deception? Okay, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? We just learned that Israel ceased to exist 2,730 years ago. If you missed the program, listen to yesterday morning. Okay, that would have been the last day of June. And so how can you imagine, after 2,730 years, some group of people come to the shores of Palestine, right, and come over and say, hey, we're Israel, we're taking our property back? Like, isn't that the most insane idea you ever heard of? When Israel disappeared off the face of the map 2,730 years ago, because the trick is they try to associate Judah with, Israel now, and it's not. Israel was the northern kingdom 10 tribes, and they disappeared. Actually, were banished. They were banished. And so those Sumerians, those people called Sumerians today, were actually imported from Babylon and the areas of Nineveh, and they adopted the customs of Israel because they were afraid of Yahweh and the great Elohim and wanted to have respect while they also served their pagan gods. So when we hear about the Good Samaritan, they were never Israel, and that's why the people, the arrogant priesthood of Judah wanted nothing to do with them. Arrogant, think they're better than everybody else. Whoa. Okay, so let's talk about the duality in another way for a moment, okay? Because in the simplest terms, we're talking about light and darkness. The original picture, that was given in Bereshith Genesis was sun and moon, not good and evil, and not light and darkness, but it was about, and we would know about the sun and the moon. And isn't that what it's about? Like when you hear us talking about the occult, they're following the moon. It's occultic, right? Or that Yeshua is the seed of light, the seed of the sun. Okay, and so there's the duality, and so is it not true that the darkness, talking about this duality and how come the occult have taken over our pure tradition and corrupted our scriptures and are controlling us by the priesthood, by the Jesuits, or by the Freemasons? The darkness, is it not true that the darkness introduces us to the light? Right? We came into the world in the fall. We came as seed of the moon, in the dark element, in matter. And so the darkness was telling us stuff. It was revealing nature to us, but yet behind it was the light. And then finally we say, wait a minute, I know something's wrong here. I know I'm being lied to. And so like little points of light out in the astral darkness, we start to see the points of light. And then those points of light start telling us a story, and then introduces us to the mother star, the great light of Yeshua, and the perfect sunrise that comes over the horizon when we finally have crucified our flesh and our passions to this world, our love for this world, and realize that we have no love for this world, just like it has no love for us. It was the greatest lie ever going. And what do we think? We're going to be on the ride forever down here having a party? There is no party. I mean, we got people starving all over the world, people being bombed into smithereens. We got people being tortured, babies being raped and sacrificed on the altar of occultism, and people are so proud of their Satanism is nothing other than a cover for Luciferianism, and Luciferian in its own essence is nothing other than another lie to the people who follow it. They think they got a power thing going on. Hey, Diane, good to have you. Let's see if I remember right. Diane's out in UK, and also I saw the note from Anne, last name. Her name is Anne, last name, and she's actually, I saw her note on the other program. She's out of Finland. So we got people from more parts of the world than I realized. So welcome. So so the darkness is what has introduced us to the light. And then talking about the duality again. Okay, so how I've referred to Yeshua as the first atom. Well, there's this thing that's going on in the Grand Illusion and with theology within the the theological world, which is all controlled by the occultist, and they all say, well, we think Thomas, because it means twin, must mean that Thomas is a brother of Jesus, and like, okay, so where did you get that from? Okay, there's no scripture anywhere that ever suggests that Thomas, see, let's take off the S. Let's start with, you got a pen? Okay. And there, so it's really, they put an H on Thomas, but they're trying to hide the real word. So drop the H and just spell Thomas. Okay. And now strike the S. Draw a line through the S because it's doesn't belong there. That's how they corrupted the words. They put the serpent on the end of words to mix us up. and so we see Toma. So Toma is the correct way to say it, and they're trying to say that Toma is the twin of Yeshua, but now his title is relevant. His name is relevant, and because now let's take the A and let's put it in front of the T, and what do we get? It's an anagram, A-T-O-M. So Toma is not a twin, but he is a duplicate, because Yeshua, and you see, in other words, the reason he gave special names to his followers, okay, this is how he did it. He gave them all special names, like James and John were the sons of thunder, because they were Levitical scribes and they wrote everything down that he did. They went everywhere with them with Kephe. So Kephe, he says, you are Shimon, but I'm calling you Kephe, not Peter. I'm calling you Kephe. And what does Kephe mean? It means the fiery keys of the woman, right? And so that's now looking Vatican, right? You look behind the Pope, you see the cross keys. They got the keys there. They say, and Peter was the first Pope. Give me a break, okay? But they transition Kephe, because they don't want us to know about the Fe and that word, you know, or the K, the keys of fire. So he gave Kephe the keys of fire. Why? Because he was going to be the head of the body of the called out ones in Jerusalem, right? And so then we go back to Toma, which is a code, and when we flip over the A and put it at the front, we find out it's the atom, and so then we can get the picture that it doesn't mean the twin, it means the duplicate, because what happened after the first atom, atom, was made? Yeshua, then duplication began to occur. Endless atoms beyond the scope of anybody's imagination, beyond any computer capability, the amount of creation that evolved from that first atom being Yeshua. And so Toma is the duplicate, showing that everything is a type that comes from the original. And so Yeshua was the perfect man, and he was made by Yahweh directly, because Yahweh can't make anything without making it perfect. But then Yeshua is the first Elohim, and out from him comes the duplication. And because one cannot make something greater than themselves, and anything we make is lesser than ourselves, so then when the planets are made, the planets are the Elohim. They're the product of all the atoms brought together, and then they're known as the blind goddess, because Elohim thought in the cosmos that they were the supreme power, and didn't know that there was a greater power beyond them, which is Yahweh, the one who makes all things, who is all things. And so it's then the Elohim saw the pattern in the cosmos, and it said that therefore they tried to create their own image as they saw the pattern within the cosmos. And in the process, they formed Adam, A-D-A-M, out of the fiery magma that poured into the water, came out of the volcano and poured into the water. And they put it on the land, and they formed Adam, but they could not breathe the breath of life into him, because Elohim did not have the breath of life, but only the ability to produce the products of nature. The breath was beyond them. And so then after 3 days and 3 nights in the great mystery, Yahweh comes down and breathes the gnosis into Adam. And that was Yeshua breathing into him, because Yeshua and Yahweh are one. Okay? And he is the supreme power in the universe for Yahweh, therefore is Yahweh. And so this is how it all began. So because Elohim made Adam, A-D-A-M, well, they couldn't make the perfect man. Only Yahweh can make the perfect man, and that's Yeshua. So Yeshua rules from the throne of the Son in the metaphor. And while Elohim then created a lesser creature that was in the fall. Okay? And so it's a duplicate but it doesn't have the ability to be perfect within its character or within its nature. And that's why Adam fell. That's why Yeshua didn't fall. Yeshua was perfect. He was tried and tested and pushed and shoved and spit upon and you name it. And he stood the test and conquered the flesh and had the victory of light, and therefore was able to then restore and break the curse that man was under, but only by the covenant relationship of following what the word says when they asked the question, what can I do to be saved? And then the answer was given by Kephe, rebreathe the breath of a star and be buried in the waters of purification, and you will receive the great breath of the wind and fire, the holy breath, the pure breath, the Holy Spirit. And this promise is unto you and all of your seed that come after you. And the promise that goes back to Ibrahim when he said that your seed will be like the stars of heaven. So, that's the essence of that story that we never hear. We never hear it, and it's rather tragic. So I'll continue in the saga of showing why the darkness introduces us to the light. But it is the great mystery. It comes to us in a mystery. It's to be, in other words, what's being rejected? Well, they rejected Yeshua, right? They rejected Yeshua, so go figure that the truth would be rejected, Okay, so we're on a few words that they killed us with. Let's go to words that kill. Okay, and so Judah is Judas Iscariot. Okay, this is a perfect example of how they trick us with the words. Okay, the guy's name is not Judas Iscariot. He is Judas the Issachari. The Issachari were a patriot sect. He was the only one of the 12 that was actually a quote unquote patriot. All right, and we know there's a lot of Looney Tunes in the Patriot movement. We found that out, at least I did over the years I was in the so-called Patriot movement. A lot of good people, but then you got the secret agents and you got the Looney Tunes. And so Judas was a passionate patriot, and he would want to kick out Rome and do anything for the cause. And that was in spite of what Yeshua was all about, and that's why he betrayed him. So the Issachari. So if we go back, and you have to look it up yourself. When there's two times when Judah, because Judas is a form of the word Judah. You go back and you find out when Judah was born, see what it says, but then go look. Oh, okay, yeah. Issachari is forgive me, not Judah, but Issachari is the form of the word Iscariot, right? And so go. Look up one of the 12, and it gives the definition of his name, and basically says that something like this off the top of my head, that we will not be in bondage forever. Okay, that's the essence of what Issachari meant, and we will not be carried in bondage forever. And so that's why the Patriot movement named themselves the Issachari, because they said we will not be in bondage forever. And so their whole objective was to be set free from foreign occupation. Okay, and so it's just like Mary Magdalene, the same thing. Mary Magdalene is not her last name. It's Mare of Magdala. She was from Magdala, and it meant the center of idolatry. Okay, which was a type of what we call whoredom, and so she was a whore in the flesh. And probably because she needed the money. Okay, it's not like we have to make somebody feel bad. It has nothing to do with good or bad. It's just she had an occupation that she probably preferred not to be in, but had no better choice. And but what she represented was the whoredom of the idolatry of Israel. Okay, the wicked Israel that was banished in 730 BC, annihilated forever. Okay, and then look at how that Israel, deals with the Palestinians. Those Palestinians lived in peace for hundreds and hundreds and probably over 1,000 years over there, if not longer. lived in peace. And even among other people calling themselves Jews or Christians, there was never a problem. Then Israel comes in with machine guns in the 1940s or whenever they did it, and just round them all up and kick them onto concentration camps, and then make the Palestinians out to be the terrorists and the bad guys. And once I figured, could see all of this, and it was clearly revealed to me, then I asked the question: why do little children, little boys and girls, strap bombs on their body and walk into restaurants and blow themselves up? Well, they're trying to get our attention because nobody's listening. Why would people blow themselves up? Because nobody's listening. But that's not to be associated with the other terrorist acts. We're strictly talking about the Palestinians and the pseudo-Israelis, okay, that are not Israel. So I know I get on a roll here, and I think you got the picture. I don't know how I got from Judas Iscariot and Mary Magdalene to, well, I guess the duality, or I don't know. Let me go on here. Next word, okay. And don't forget, you can always spell me and give me a break if you call in, okay? Love to take your call. So we got to go now to when Yeshua was buried in the water, okay? When he was officially going to be on his last 3-year ministry. Let me take a sip here. Hang on. Okay. So Yeshua goes into the water, and I by the way, I've got a copy of the original gospel project that I'm doing, and on there you can see my transliteration of the entire immersion in the water. Okay, any size donation, I'll be glad to get it to you by email and PDF. If you don't have any funny money, just tell me, and I'll get it to you pronto, without a problem. I'll be happy to get it to you. Okay, bottom line is we're trying to get this out. But when Yeshua goes into the water, and boy, is this story really butchered, okay? Because, the thing about the dove coming down and, the word beloved, this is my beloved, all of it's wrong. And the reason I have a really good scope on it is because of the lost writings, okay? It's not like I'm so smart and I can figure it out. Why did they take these other writings from us? I can't go into all of them and, just bring them on the table in one night and share them with you, but little by little I'll share them. But it's by reading all of them. And once you read all of them and you find out what they took away, well, guess what? There's the smoking gun. What they took away. It's not what they wanted you to know. It's what they didn't want you to know, right? That's what editor means. That's what education means, what they took away from you. Okay, so here's the picture. Yeshua comes to be immersed in the water, to be, quote unquote, baptized, the word they use. I claim that it's related to Bap Mofeth, Bap, the Bap Mofeth, remember that one, the goat? So not a good word, but we can use it now. I have the transliterations in the scriptures that I'm working on in the dictionary. But so anyway, it's a cloudy day. It's like fully overcast, okay? And we'll know this in a minute why, okay? So he comes into the water, and Yelkanan says to him, why do you come unto me? I need to be baptized by you. And he says, well, allow it for now so that we can fulfill all of the perfection of mankind. So it was to fulfill the mission of perfecting mankind, finishing creation, the thing that was left undone by Elohim and that Yahweh wanted to complete. And it comes by the virtue of being born again through the waters, going back into the mother and coming out of her water again into a covenant relationship and new life. So Yeshua is going to set the standard. And so then Yelkanan says, okay, let's do it. And let me hang on, put my glasses back on. Okay, and the way we got the picture of immersion is not the way it actually is, because nobody has to take you in their arms and push you under the water. You actually go voluntarily by yourself. And what Yelkanan was the witness. And he was to witness that you walked into the water and that you went down into the water, released your oxygen so that your whole body and head would totally go under the water, and then you come up and you rebreathe. You rebreathe the breath of life. And so he's the witness, because if you didn't go all the way under the water, he'd say you have to do it again. Okay? So he's not handling Yeshua at all. Everyone, like they come into this world alone, they go into the water alone to be reborn on their own, and then they walk until they're over their head, and then they release the air from their body and go under. And that picture, by the way, is within I think Ezekiel, and there's a picture that creates the scene of walking into the water. And okay, and so anyway, so after he comes up out of the water, then what happens is it says that the Spirit came down in the form of a dove, and rested on him. But what really happened is this, and they hate the light. We've well established they hate the light, and these people running our thinking for us. And so what happened was a window parted in the clouds, okay, a window, and then the light came directly through the window in the cloud and came down. And the way it says it in the original, and I got a document that was discovered in Iraq, okay, and it has some of the original terminology in there. And it came down, the light came down with the focus of an eagle. So if you can imagine Yeshua in the middle of the water, standing up all by himself, and then all of a sudden a ray of light comes down through the cloud and focuses directly on him, and it said with the focus of an eagle and with the brightness of a dove. So it would be just like if he were an actor on a stage, right? And you know how they use the spotlight and it focuses direct, same thing. It's focusing with the accuracy of an eagle and the brightness of a dove, a white light shining on him. And then the light says, "This is my only," our corrupted scriptures say, "This is my beloved seed. Hear him." But that's the corruption, because it said, what it really said was, "This is my only loved seed," my only loved. He was and is the perfect creation. And so if we want to be only loved, then we have to be in him. And that's why we are all buried within his royal title, Yeshua, the Mashiach. Okay? So only love seed. So write that down, because anytime you see the word my beloved, what they were saying in the original, whether it's Paul or Yochanan John in 1 John, 2 John, when they say my beloved, what they really said was my only loved seed, because they recognized that they were of the seed of light, and that everyone else was in the outer darkness, the seed of the moon, dead, the walking dead. But we have the promise of eternal life and of receiving the great breath of the wind and fire if we do those things that are written in the word, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so there you go, the only loved seed. How important is that bit of information? And the beauty of the light coming down, focusing. Can you imagine everybody on the shore when they saw the light focusing directly on him? And then all of a sudden they hear a voice from the sky, saying these things. They knew they were witnessing a supernatural event, and it's been so watered down and corrupted. It's pitiful, it's a tragedy what has happened to our tradition and and our world. And so we've got to get it back together, ladies and gentlemen. And the only way is to be able to hear things we never heard before, and to be able to see what behold means, see and read it for ourselves, because nobody can make you see anything. You've got to see and read it for yourself. That's the only way you will ever know it. And the revelations, that I've received from Yeshua over the years, just like, if you're my age, just like when, you remember where you were when Kennedy was shot, or probably now today when the Twin Towers came down, you know where you were. Same with me when I received all of these different powerful revelations, like the big one I got, when I was unloading hazardous chemicals at a chemical plant in, Port Arthur, Texas, while I was sitting in my 18-wheeler you know, my truck is unloading and I'm reading my scriptures behind the steering wheel, and I'm reading about, and the garden the way was protected by a sword, a flaming sword that pointed in every direction, you know, and I always got the impression that the purpose of the sword, you know, outside of Eden, was to keep people from getting back in, you know, and then all of a sudden I realized, well, no, that's not what's going on. That's not, and then I looked across my steering wheel, and the sun was rising over the horizon directly in front of my truck, you know, coming at me. You know, I'm looking dead east, and the sun is rising. And as I read that scripture, I looked up and saw the sun. And then for the first time in my life, I realized that the sun was the royal flaming sword that pointed in every direction. And it wasn't to keep man out of the garden, but it was pointing or paradise, but it was trying to point the way back in. A total reversal on the impression we get from the poorly transliterated scriptures. It's Yeshua's will, the great Elohim's will, and Yahweh's will, that we can follow the light pattern back to the sun, to the throne of the sun. And you know how these occultists have demonized thinking about anything about the sun. You know, it's the center of our solar system. Everything came out of the light, all creation. You know, before the earth was formed, he said, let there be light, and the sun ignited. And then out of it came the earth and the moon and you know, and Venus and Mercury and Mars, all of the planets. And very possibly the gaseous orbs came out before it was ignited. You know, but those gaseous orbs are of a different nature than the planets. You know, so I won't dwell on it. But you know, so it is possible to know. One day I'll actually give the visual on how you know, it all came to be from, you know, before anything was in the void. Okay, it's another story, but we can look at nature, we can read nature and know the story. Okay, and certainly ain't no Big Bang. Isn't that a cheap excuse, right? Yeah, well, there's just a Big Bang, and you know, well, in physics they say for every cause there's an equal and opposite reaction. So if there was a Big Bang, then where did the sucking sound come from? Wasn't there a sucking sound? You know, but that's not what happened. That's not what happened. It was something totally different, and it was gentle and very subtle, but it was very, very powerful. And you know, and you'll get the picture because it comes back to man and woman. You know, man and woman are the cosmic images. We are representatives of the cosmos, not some alien somewhere out there with long fingers and no clothes on, you know, and big eyeballs, and you know what I'm saying, this crazy nonsense Hollywood has created to divert our attention, when we are the supreme, we are the end product of creation. There is no creation beyond us. And if they're on another planet somewhere, they look like us, maybe as different as an African or Chinese, but they're in a bubble. The radiation of space is lethal, and it's impossible to transcend outer space, especially when you consider how long it would take. And the only wormhole, you know, and theory is not science. Theory is not science, and the only wormholes that exist are in the minds of people. Okay, that's the only place wormholes exist, in the minds of people. We have to follow the scriptures because they keep us on track and take us back to our root. They were written so that we could follow the trail back. And I'll comment then on that point about why Israel was used, and then we'll do our reading on the Watchers, okay? But I think I should make one more point. Stand by, I just got to turn on a light. You're tuned into the realpublicradio.net, Free America Radio Network. What they didn't want you to know, but we tell right here, but somebody's got to do it, and that's me, Desert Owl. Stand by for the broadcast. Okay, and just let me take a sip here to schmooze my throat out. So let's pose a question, ladies and gentlemen. Why was Israel used? Why? What was that all about? Were they somebody special? well, we know Abraham was, right? We know Avraham. He wasn't a ham. Can you imagine that this culture that was forbidden to eat pork would call him a ham? Abraham? Thank you, y'all love. Yeah, yeah. So could you imagine they would call him a ham? It's a joke. He was Avraham, Avraham, plural, because many stars were going to come out from this story that Avraham represented the sun, just like in Mithraism, it was Ahura Mazda, but you know, it's an archetype similar. But Avraham, you know, he represented Yahweh, the father, the great father, and he was a father of a nation, right? Called Israel. But notice that his son Yitzhak became blind. Okay, that's a symbol. And it's talking about Israel, that Israel would be blind, telling in advance the story. Remember when the two sons come in, first it's Yaakov, the seed of light, who deceives his father. And he says, you know, the hands are the hands of Esau, but the voice is that of the seed of light. Whoa. He admitted that it was the voice of the seed of light. You see, and he allowed it to happen, even though he knew he was being deceived. You know, what it was actually in his mind, it's impossible to say, but it's an interesting story. You know, interesting story. We'll never get, you know, unless Yeshua talks to us direct on that. I don't know if we'll ever have the, you know, the true aspect of what was going through Yitzhak, right? Isaac. So anyway, this thing about the you know, the duality and the deception was right there, right? There was a deception going on, and therefore Isaac represents the blind Elohim that I just told you about in creation. They were creating without even knowing that there was something beyond them. And then Isaac says, well, yours is the voice of the seed of light, because that's what Yaakov means, the seed of light. Okay, so anyway, to move on, so let's associate Israel with the vine, okay? And the vine goes along for the ride on the tree. Do you ever go in the woods? And where do you find vines? The vines climb up the side of the tree. So the vine is not the tree per se, but it is going along for the ride. And so Israel becomes the vine that comes to earth to bring forth a message. It's going to be the messenger. That's what Malek means, royal Malek, a royal messenger. And so it's going to be a messenger, but by the time we get to the multiple population, you know, beyond 12, well, even the 12 weren't worthy, were they? I mean, the 12 of them, other than maybe Reuben or, you know, one or two of them, wanted to kill Volshath. They wanted to kill their younger brother, Joseph, right? So they were all wicked already, not worthy of being, you know, of this progeny of, you know, anointed people. But they were in the old world of darkness. They couldn't see. They were all blind. But only one, you know, out of the many. As it says that there are many that seek to enter in, but only few will be saved. Only one out of that group had the enlightenment that could save all of his people. Right? They hated him, wanted to kill him, and he was the one who was there to save them. And so the point being that Israel was not special, but they were used. They were used to serve Yahweh's purpose, even when they were not worthy. And because at the end, out of that vine would come someone that was destined to save the entire world that wanted to go. And that was Yeshua, of course. So it's a great mystery. But Yeshua and Yahweh, the great Elohim, had to use some people. And so they went along for the ride, whether they liked it or not. And it was up to them if they wanted to be pure, you know, and away from the corruption and idolatry. But of course, we know the way the world is. Most people are not going to go. They want somebody to spoon feed them everything they know, and then to you know, be told that everything's okay, honey, don't worry about it. You know, you're saved already, and you know, there's nothing you have to do, nothing. Just believe you are, whatever that means, okay? When it's a little deeper than that, right? It's a little deeper. It's a transformation of being. It is living in another world, outside of this world, separate from this world, while in the world, a separate people, right? A separate people. That's what we're supposed to be. Separate, okay? But in this world still while we're here. So, so anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to give you that picture because I've never heard anybody tell that story. And that is the story. It's a vine on a tree. And the vine brings forth the grapes, right? The vine brings forth the wine of truth. And when Yeshua was on the cross, one more bit of symbolism, then we'll do the read. When Yeshua is on the burning tree, the cross, the curse, also known as the curse, cross is curse. When he's up there and they see him suffering, and one of the guards takes the vinegar and puts it on a sponge on a stick. Remember that the wine turns to vinegar after a long time, and so it was wine vinegar, and he put it up to his mouth, and he tasted it, but he would not drink it, and so that vinegar represented Israel. No, forgive me, Israel was gone 30 years prior. Forgive me, it was Judah. It was now the wine of the priesthood of Judah, not Israel, because Israel was gone a long time ago. And when the wine was put up to his mouth and he tasted the vinegar, he did not drink it. And it represents the fact that the wine of Israel, and of Judah had now turned to vinegar and was worthless. And therefore he could not drink it. And what Yeshua gave us was the pure wine of truth. And that's what we saw instituted with the 6 clay jars at the wedding, because those 6 clay jars of water turning into wine was symbolic of the new wine that Yeshua was going to bring to mankind, which was the wine of his blood, the blood that he would shed. And a miracle is transformed when one drinks it in the sacrament. And it continually washes us every week while we're on this earth to keep us pure as we continue to grow towards perfection. And so that's the essence of that story, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you you know, will meditate and pray on that and see it more clearly in your scriptures as we continue on this death planet that we're on, this Death Star called Earth. And may the Father of Light help us on our journey, because we got a little time to pull it all together. You know, bottom line. I'm taking my vinyl out of my window now. I can safely open my blinds and look out without getting too much solar UVB and UVC. So just stand by, and I'll be right with you. Oh yeah, beautiful sunset. Clouds. Always got those clouds in front of the sun. I wonder how they managed to do that. They're pretty clever, aren't they? They're tricksters. Those Luciferian psychopaths, aren't they? Yeah. Their day is coming, ladies and gentlemen. The joke's on. They all go to the grave, right? They're all gonna meet their moment. They can't run from it, and they're so empty. They are so empty, and so I can't imagine what these people talk about when they get together privately, right? Like, how many people did they kill, or how much money they made? My bank account's bigger than your bank account, or you know what I mean? Like, it's got to be the most dead zone to hang out with people like that have no concern for others, and you know, and no desire to, you know, to ponder the infinite universe, but instead sold themselves out to a blood oath and drank the blood of babies and ate their flesh to get a higher initiation. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I'm glad when my scripture says when they're coming for me, they're coming for him, because that takes it all off my shoulders, you know. And the truth is, when they're coming for me, He's coming for them. He's coming for them. And I've seen it all my life, you know. He taught me, just like the great miracles in when they came out of Mitzrayim, Egypt, and he says, "You saw my miracles." I have seen the miracles, ladies and gentlemen, in my life, the saving power of my Father. I've even been struck by lightning. Okay, it was while I was washing hands in the restroom of my treasurer's house, $250,000 home on the Pebble Beach golf course there in East Texas, and the lightning came right through the faucet. The house was struck by lightning, came through the faucet, and while I was rinsing my hands off with the soap, the white lightning came right through on top of the water, was riding on the water, and came around my hand like a soccer ball, and literally I heard the electric sound go zzz, and I was just frozen there, and the whole soccer ball that was surrounding my hand was in the middle of it, was trimmed in gold, literally trimmed in gold. And then all of a sudden I saw the light go back up, the white lightning go right back up the faucet while the water's still running out. And then I fall back and bounce off the wall. And it's like, wow. And I had a vision. I had just lost my house on the lake, you know, and my canoe and everything, you know, my little piece of paradise on a 1-acre hill rolling into the water. Beautiful deck in the trees in the back, high up in the trees, and all that gone. And I was getting ready to go to my next big test, which was when they were going to frame me in West Virginia when I went to retire at my former radio sponsor's goat farm up there. And so what I had a vision when the lightning struck me, and I had a vision that I was holding a 30,000-foot sword in my hand, you know, and a giant sword. And it was because I had just studied the scriptures for like 20 years, over 20 years of my life, 25 years. I knew all the stories. And now what he's saying, now you're on, going from reading into real life experience. And now I'm putting a sword in your hand, and you're going to learn how to do battle. Okay. And little did I know, when I'm going to West Virginia, I'm about to be set up, move into the middle of a government sting operation. And I'm going to meet the test of my life with a bunch of, Masonic pirates, criminal mafia that have been running the show there for, near 200 years. And we're happy to, injure people, resulting in the death of one, and then, trying to railroad me. So it was telling me I was going to meet my next test, and I had the sword in my hand. He had put the sword in my hand. And I had to learn how to do battle. And I knew all the stories, because I knew all the stories, and I knew who I was. And I knew who Yeshua was and is, because I had been serving him all my life in spite of myself. I was in his court. I knew when they were trying to drag me into their phony court of all the Freemasons, I knew that I had them in my court, and I'm not talking to them. I'm not taking their mail. I'm not accepting their attorneys. I'm not messing with the mafia. I'm trusting Yeshua all the way. And so that's a story for another day, but I'm telling you, I got the record for the longest case in West Virginia's history. When they usually railroad people in 6 months, I was there for 2 months, 2 trials, and a total of 26 months. Okay, 6 times 6 is 24, right? 6 times 6, 24. So 7 times longer than anybody else. Well, that's a good number. I never saw it that way. 7 times. Right? There's that number 7 again. So anyway, that's the story in short, and showing you of a vision that I had, and a real experience that, you can be struck by lightning. Okay? But everything belongs to Yeshua. Everything. So he strikes the enemy with lightning. They're dead. Strikes you with lightning. You're going to get a vision. Okay? So, all right. There we go. It's hard to try to share all this supernatural stuff with people, because, unless you've had a supernatural experience, it's got to be, rather of an enigma. But I've got a bunch of them. I've got another one I thought about sharing with you today. I'll save it for another day, but it has to do with the letter A, first letter of the alphabet. And I knew I had to share that because of the introduction of the AVG. We haven't gotten very far in the alphabet yet. But this is part of the story, and I think I should cap off the AVG with the story, and it's supernatural, I'm telling you, he gave me a riddle that lasted 10 years. And then he gave me the answer, okay? And it's a profound way I got the riddle. So that'll happen maybe tomorrow. We'll see. Taking it one step at a time. And glad you're all tuned in, and hope you're telling your friends about the broadcast. Because if you know anybody that has a devoted heart towards Yeshua or Jesus, then give them the benefit of the doubt that you wanted to know, and maybe they want to know, and it can help them on their journey. Okay, it's so anyway, we're in. Let me find my notes here. I don't think that's the right chapter. Hang on. Okay, here we go. Okay, we're on chapter in the Lost Books of the Bible, Forgotten Books of Eden, in book 2 of Adam and Eve. Okay, we're in chapter 17. Then Jared kept his and we know that just basically all the other sons have passed away now, and Jared is now in charge of his people. They're up there in the mountain where today we find Jerusalem. Okay, and then Jared kept his father's commandment and arose like a lion over his people, and he fed them in the perfection of light and innocence. That would imply purity, and commanded them to do nothing without his counsel, for he was afraid. He was afraid concerning them, unless they should go down to the seed of Cain. For this reason, he give them orders repeatedly, and continued to do so until the end of 485th year of his life. At the end of these said years, there came unto him this sign, and Jared was standing like a lion before the bodies of his fathers, creating light and warning his people that the serpent envied him, and worked a beautiful apparition, because Jared would not let his people do anything without his counsel. And the serpent then appeared to him with 30 men. Okay, so clearly the serpent are men, because the big serpent, whoever that was, was with 30 other men. So now I just want to say, part of the story of the fall is also in the Kolbrin. Okay, it's in the Kolbrin. It's powerful to read another segment of this saga in another book, and that it was preserved. But with a translation like this, there has to be the allowance that something may not have been transliterated correctly. And therefore, hey, Prospero, good to have you. And no, you missed about an hour so far, bro, but that's okay. We got it recorded. Oh yeah, for the reading of the Watchers, sure. You're here, right? We just started. So we have to, take everything with those things in consideration, that the translator, very possibly in different instances, could have done a better job. No matter what, it's powerful to know that this story was preserved just the way we have it. Okay, so let me take another sip here. So the serpent then appeared to him in 30 men of in the form of 30 men. That's the way it would have been written. The serpent appeared to him in the form of 30 men of his host, in the form of handsome men. The implication is that they were also Aryans, but it may have been that the Aryan people were growing so much that there was off branches of the Aryan race of Adam, and therefore it was possible that there were different tribes now spread out, and everybody didn't know everyone, and just like we got Jared here living in a cave, basically, right? So if Jared's living in a cave, only when people come to him, does he get to see the bigger group. So he's isolated. So we just have to take all things into consideration, and the serpent himself being the elder and the tallest among them, with a fine beard. So the serpent has a fine beard. Okay, does that sound like a snake or a flesh and blood man, right? And they stood at the mouth of the cave and called out to Jared from within it. And he came out to them and found them looking like fine men, full of delight. and of great beauty. And he pondered at their beauty and at their looks, and thought within himself whether they may not be the seed of Cain. Okay, so we don't have a photograph of them, but if they were the seed of Cain, I'm sure they would be redhead and spotted. So we'll never know that enigma there. So he said also in his heart, as the seed of Cain cannot come up the height of this mountain, and none of them is so handsome as these appear to be, and among these men there is not one of my relations, they must be strangers. Then Jared and they exchanged greetings, and he said to the elders among them, oh, okay, I think I'm getting the picture, that these were probably emissaries from down below, from the seed of Cain that came up. They were trying to figure, I get it now, it's been a long time since I read the story, but they were trying to figure out how to bring these people down to them. And so they come up as strangers trying to bring him down. And that's what's going on, okay? So, he said in his heart, as the seed of Cain cannot come up to the height of this mountain, none of them is so handsome as these appear to be. And among these men there is not one of my relations, they must be strangers. So I allow for the fact that they could still be Aryan, but no matter what, these are all people who have already either of the seed of Cain, or they sold out as the Aryan race and went down to mate with the children of Cain. So one or the other. Then Jared and they exchanged a greeting, and he said to the elder among them, my father, explain to me the majesty that is in you, and tell me who are these with you, for they look to me like strange men. And then the elder began to cry, and the rest of them started to cry with him. And he said to Jared, I am Adam, whom great Elohim first made. And this is Avel, my son Abel, who was killed by his brother Cain, into whose heart the serpent put to murder him. Then this is my son Seth, who I asked of the Yahweh, who gave him to me to comfort me instead of Avel. And this one is my son Enosh, son of Seth. And that other one is Canaan, the son of Enosh. And the other one is Mahalalel, the son of Canaan, your father. But Jared remained wondering at their appearances and at the speech of the elder to him. And then the elder said to him, Do not be confused, my true and perfect seed. We live in the land north of the garden, which the great Elohim created before the world. He would not let us live there, but placed us inside the garden below, where which you are now dwelling. That was where the children of Cain were. But after that I transgressed, and he made me come out of it. And I was left to dwell in this cave. Great and sore troubles came upon me, and when my death drew near, I commanded my son Seth to tend his people well. And this is my commandment to be handed from one to another unto the end of the generations that come. But true and perfect Jared, my seed, we live in a beautiful region, while you live here in misery, as this your father Mahalalel informed me, telling me that a great flood will come and overwhelm the whole entire earth. Therefore, my true and perfect seed, fearing for your sakes, I rose and took my little ones with me, and came to you for us to visit you and your seed. But I found you standing in this cave, weeping, and your little ones scattered about this mountain, your seed, in the heat of and in this misery. But my true and perfect seed, as we missed our way and got lost, but we came as far as this. We found other men below this mountain who inhabit a beautiful country, a beautiful land full of trees and of fruit and of all manner of plants and life. It is like a garden, so that when we found them, we thought they were you, until Father Mahalalil told me that they were no such thing. Now, therefore, my true and perfect seed, listen to my counsel and go down to them, you and your seed with you. You will rest from all the suffering in which you are in. Now, you have to know they had a type of a promise that one would come to deliver them. And it's very likely that he's being tricked here by that very message, just like Abraham was told to sacrifice his son Isaac, right? Because he thought Isaac was going to be the Mashiach. When you read Josephus, you find out that that Isaac was no little boy, but about 22 years old, and was willing to give himself as a sacrifice because of the command that Abraham received. Okay? There's always more to the story, and we've got to consider all the other variables. And we don't have to make a claim that it's this, that, or the other thing, but always be open to the potentials. You will rest from all the suffering in which you are in. But if you will not go down to them, then rise up, take your seed, and come with us to our garden, and we will live in our beautiful land, and you will rest from all of this trouble which you and your seed are now bearing. But Jared then, when he heard this discourse from the elder, wondered, and went there and there, back and forth, but at the moment he found no one of his children. And then he answered and said to the elder, why have you hidden yourselves until this day? And the elder replied, if your father had not told us, we should not have known it. And then Jared believed the words were true. But that elder said to Jared, for what reason did you go about back and forth? And he said, I was seeking one of my children to tell him about going with you and about their coming down to those about whom who had spoken to me. And it's interesting that it all comes down to a trick, right? It comes down to a trick because they couldn't go down naturally. And so they had to be tricked. Isn't it sort of like reflective upon what we've been talking about, how we've all been tricked, right? And we're taught to go down, but not to go up. When the elder heard Jared's intention, he said to him, leave that alone, that purpose at present, and come with us. You will see our land, and if the land in which we dwell pleases you, we and you will return here and take your family with us. But if our country does not please you, then you may come back to your own place. And the elder urged Jared to go before one of his offspring. And Jared then came out of the cave and went with them and among them. And they comforted him until they came to the top of the mountain of the seed of Cain. And then the elder said to one of his companions, we have forgotten to do something by the mouth of the cave, and that is the chosen garments we had brought to clothe Jared withal. He then said to one of them, go back, you, someone, and we will wait for you here until you come back, and then we will clothe Jared, and he will be like us, good and handsome, and fit to come with us into our land. But that one went back. But when he was a short distance off, the elder called to him and said to him, as he was leaving, stay thou until I come and speak with you. And then he stood still, and the elder went up to him and said to him, one thing we forgot at the cave, and it is this, excuse me, to put out the lamp that burns inside it, above the bodies that are therein, and then come back to us. And that one went, and the elder came back to the fellows and to Jared, and they came down to the mountain, and Jared with them, and they stayed by a fountain of water, near the houses of the children of Cain, and waited for their companion until he brought the garment for Jared. Then he who went back to the cave put out the lamp, and came to them, and brought a phantom with him, and showed it to them. And then Jared saw it, and wondered at the beauty and the grace thereof, and rejoiced in his heart, believing it was all true. Now, what that phantom is, I have no idea. But while, in other words, something false, it's something that was not real, some type of, it's hard to imagine. But while they were staying there, 3 of them went into the houses of the seed of Cain, and said to them, bring us today some food by the fountain of water for us and our companions to eat. But when the seed of Cain saw them, they wondered at them, and thought, these are beautiful to look at, and such as we have never seen before. So if they're mesmerized, then I'm pretty sure it's the Aryan race. It's just that Jared didn't recognize them, but they were already sellouts, like the sellouts we got to deal with every day. Right, the same type of product. And these are beautiful to look at, and such as we never saw before. So they rose up and came with them to the fountain of water to see their companions. And they found them so very handsome that they cried aloud about their places for other people to gather and come. They called all their friends together to come and look at these beautiful beings. And then they gathered around them, both men and women. And then the elder said to him, we are strangers in your land. Bring us some food, some good food and drink, you and your women, to refresh ourselves with you. And when these men heard these words of the elder, every one of Cain's sons brought his wife, and another brought his daughter. And so many women came to them, every one addressing Jared either for himself or for his wife, all alike. What that means is that they wanted to be his wife. I'm not sure what that means. Again, they've done a pretty good job of transliterating this, considering, how ancient this document is, right? This document goes back before the flood, okay? This writing goes back before the flood. And actually, by the way, in parts of Enoch are the words of Noah. Noah is sliced inside the books of Enoch. I have to go back and read them now to find them, but I remember, 30 years ago when I was reading them, I knew that part I was reading were the words of Noah. So they're all spliced together, But then when Jared saw what they did, his very soul wrenched itself from them. Neither would he taste of their food or of their drink. And the elder saw him as he wrenched himself from them. And he said to them, do not be sad. I am the great elder. As you shall see me do yourself in the same way. And then he spread his hands and took one of the women, and 5 of his companions did the very same thing before Jared, and that he should do as they did. But then Jared saw them working infamy, and he wept, and said in his mind, my fathers never did anything like this. He then spread his hands and created light before the great Elohim with a fervent heart, and with very much weeping and entreaty before the great Elohim to deliver him from their hands. And no sooner did Jared begin to create light than the elder fled with his companions. They ran away, for they could not stay in a place where the light was created. And then Jared turned around, but could not see them, but found himself standing in the middle of the seed of Cain. And then he wept and he breathed, oh, great Elohim, do not destroy me with this race, concerning which my fathers have warned me. For now my true and perfect Yahweh, who is the great Elohim, I was thinking that those who appeared unto me were my fathers, but I have found them out to be the adversary who lured me by this beautiful apparition until I follow them. Sounds like Lucifer, the Luciferians. But now I ask you, true, perfect, and complete, great Elohim, to deliver me from this race, this fallen race, among whom I am now before, as you did deliver me from those adversaries. Send your royal messenger to draw me out of the center of them, for I have not myself any power left to escape from among them. And when Jared had ended his creation of light, prayer, the great Elohim sent the royal messenger in the center of them, who took Jared and set him up upon the mountain and showed him the way back and gave him counsel, and then departed from him. Chapter 18. The seed of Jared were in the habit of visiting him hour after hour to receive his endowment and enlightenment and to ask his advice for everything they did. And when he had a work to do, they did it for him. But this time when they went to the cave, they did not find Jared, but they found that lamp put out, and the bodies of their fathers were thrown around on the floor, and voices came out from them by the power of the great Elohim that said, the serpent in an apparition has deceived our son, wishing to destroy him, as he destroyed our son Cain. And they also said, the Yahweh, who is the great Elohim of the sun, earth, and moon, and all the stars, deliver our seed from the hand of the serpent, who worked a great and false apparition before him. And they also spake in other matters by the power of the great Elohim. But when the seed of Jared heard these voices, they were afraid, and they stood crying for their father, for they did not know what had happened to him. And they cried for him that day until the setting of the sun. Then Jared came with a condemned countenance, wretched in mind and body, and sorrowful at having been separated from the bodies of his fathers. But as he was drawing near to the cave, his children saw him and hurried to the cave and hung upon his neck, crying and saying to him, "O true father, where have you been, and why did you leave us, and that you were never had done before? And again, our true father, when you did disappear, the lamp of our bodies of our fathers went out, and the bodies were thrown around, and the voices came out of them." And when Jared heard this, he was sorry, and he went into the cave, and there he found the bodies thrown around, and the lamp put out, and the fathers themselves praying for his deliverance from the hand of the serpent men. And Jared fell upon the bodies and embraced them, and said, "O my true and perfect fathers, through your intercession, let the great Elohim deliver me from the hand of, had led me from the hand of the serpent. And I beg you, and will ask to keep me and to hide me from him until the day of my death." And then all the voices ceased, save the voice of our father Adam, who spoke to Jared by the power of the great Elohim, and just as one would speak to his friend, saying, "True and perfect Jared, my seed, offer gifts to the great Elohim for having delivered you from the hand of the serpent. And when you bring those offerings, so be it that you offer them on the altar on which I did offer. And then also beware of the serpent, for he deluded me many a time with his apparitions, wishing to destroy me, but the great Elohim delivered me out of his hand. Command the people that they be on their guard against him, and never cease to offer up gifts unto the great Elohim. And then the voice of Hadam also became silent, and Jared and his offspring wondered at this. Then they laid the bodies as they were at first, and Jared and his little ones, his children, stood praying the whole of that night until the break of day. And then Jared made an offering and offered it on the altar as Adam had commanded him. And as he went up to the altar, he created light to the great Elohim for mercy and for forgiveness out of his closing his eyes concerning the lamp going out. And then the great Elohim appeared to Jared on the altar and endowed him with enlightenment and also his seed, and accepted their offerings, and commanded Jared to take of the sacred fire from the altar, and with it to light the lamp that shed light on the body of Adam. And then we come into chapter 19, but I'm going to save that till tomorrow, friends. I'm getting a little hoarse right here, but profound story. I'm sure if you've never heard it before, it'll give you a lot to meditate on, because it's like being somewhere you've never been before, and an opportunity to go back thousands of years to a saga where we never really have gotten the story, before, other than the short little version we get out of our filtered scriptures, what they wanted us to have left after they destroyed everything else, So what an irony, and what a story. If you want more of the story, you can get the book of Jasher, and excuse me, and the book of Jasher is about 90 chapters. It's a book that belongs in the Old Covenant. It actually is referenced twice in the one in the book of Samuel and one in the book of the Kings. And it says, is it not found written in the book of Jasher? Okay. And it's 90 chapters. If it were in the Old Covenant, it would be the biggest book of all the books of the Old Covenant. And so it was obviously taken out. And it's got the story behind the story of everything from the book of Genesis all the way through the book of Joshua. Okay? In other words, the story behind the story and all these people, it's the expanded version where Genesis is just like a genealogy. It's just like a thumbnail, real quick, boom, 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 when the other stories are about their lives are expanded. Amazing what we've lost, ladies and gentlemen. So you can go to artisanpublishers.com, and for like $12 or maybe an ad shipping, $3 more, you can get the book of Jasher, one of the most significant reads. You find out what happened to Abraham, when he was in Babylon and got right in the face of Nimrod. Okay, I don't want to spill the beans, but it's the rest of the story, right? As someone used to say, it's the rest of the story. We want it all. If you are embracing, the eternal way, then unlike the desire to watch movies and television, the heart needs to be set on hearing, reading everything of our ancient past, because it is the road back home. The more it becomes a part of you, the more you become a part of it, and it's the secret, one of the secrets to transcendence, because you have to. It's alchemy is it's just like the word acclimate, right? You are transitioning into a knowing, and by knowing and knowing and knowing, what does it say in the scriptures? That where people perish for lack of knowledge, where there is no vision, the people perish. So how could we ever be saved through ignorance? Right? It's impossible. Yeshua is the tree of knowledge. He says, take my fruit from me, and I will feed you with a knowledge that you never knew you could have. And I see Prospero. I may get that. I got Enoch, and I have been on the fence of Jasher. Yeah, no, get it, man. You won't put it down. I promise you, because it's everything, you know, of all those people that we've read over and over all of our lives, and it's right there. You know, it's the next saga. It's the next level, and it was always in Hebrew in vowel points, and then came to public attention in the 1800s. And the fact that it had no vowel points and was only written in consonants shows it was a pure document kept secret from us by the false Israel. Okay, and they didn't want us to have it because they hate our guts, and they're covetous, right? And they don't like it either. It's not their story. They have nothing. They're not even Israel, but they stole it from us. The surplanters took over the falsehood. You know, they're the falsehood. So I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, the truth is stranger than fiction, and it's a bigger story than we could ever imagine. And we have to be scholars. We have to go find our cave somewhere, and stay there and meditate and pray and read and receive the great breath of the wind and fire, and realize we're not of this world, and hope that maybe there is one friend that we could give light to, because most people don't want the light. They love the darkness. They love the false story. You know, you are right. A little knowledge is a dangerous thing. There you go, Prospero. So, so ladies and gentlemen, I thank you, you know, for being there, for giving me the encouragement to share this. You know, if you weren't there, I wouldn't be sharing this with anybody. You're my motivation. If there were two people here, I'd be happy. You know, because I always felt when I was doing broadcasting, I don't care how many people are out there. I feel that there's one out there, one that would want to hear it. You know, I know people come in later and hear the recording, but you know, few are going to be saved. Few are going to be saved because the lies are so great, because the world is so thick and dense. That's a good way to put it, isn't it? Thick and dense. So don't forget, if you want to get a copy of the Real Da Vinci Code Etymological Dictionary, or the Book of Wisdom, or the Original Thought, the original gospel, the prototype, an example of how the original gospel is being translated, with the dictionary that goes with it as well. It's one document, okay? Any size donation for one of those books, one at a time, please, because we're trying to raise funds for the translation project and for everything we've got to do. Okay, and if you don't have the funny money, I will be happy to send you a copy. Okay, just tell me what book you want. And also, if you want to, if you use, you know, if you follow the philosophy of regeneration, and take, you know, supplements and health food, of things of that nature, then we have an online store, and we get a percentage whenever you make a purchase, and the prices are fantastic, and these are great people, Christian people, that have finally figured out the right way to do things. And it's free to join, and you can have friends go onto your website. You can have an online website for free, and help people that are suffering, where to go. Fred Kaufman cured his, you know, I didn't say cure. He showed his mother how to be healed from, you know, brain cancer. Because he knew the secret of regeneration, and so he just told her what to do, how to become alkaline, you know. And so those are the secrets. So so go to this website and check it out, and we have a lead share program, and if you call us, you know, we can assign you up under the next friend at the top of the list, or if you want to just sign up on this website, go ahead, but call us if you do join. We're going to read the website of our friends as we do the programming and as we grow, and sign people up under people, help our friends out, and you know, spread the you know, the monetary benefit around, because everybody's suffering today. Everybody needs a hand up to pay the bills, to take care of family, to get the food reserve, the extra things we need because our world is going down. Go to this website, healthwalk.basicreset.com. That's healthwalk, all one word, healthwalk, HEALTHWALK dot BasicReset, one word, BasicReset.com. Okay, and then if you do sign up for free, no obligation to buy something every month. You buy when you want, what you want, when you want, and paid weekly through PayPal when you get your commissions, weekly pay. So it's really cool, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, and still time to call if you want us to touch base real quick, have a comment or question. Love to hear from you. I know I'm hanging out with some of the best people on earth right now. People that have been taking copies of the Sky. You've all taken your red pill. You know what's going on. And Y'all Love says she's blown away. Okay, Y'all Love will hold on to the chair. Okay, so you stay with us, and you're staying up late, aren't you? Well, thank you for being there. I know you're making a sacrifice here tonight, but maybe you couldn't sleep either with the Forbidden History. And maybe you'll call in live sometime, okay, on the call. I'm sure our friends would like to hear from you as well. You have a very interesting, background you shared with me, and she originally came from Romania. She has a very colorful past and has experienced a lot of stuff, just like people do. And Diane, thank you. Your bedtime, loved all, and I always used to like to tell people to breathe deep, but I don't want to tell them that anymore with all those toxins in the air. But be safe, Diane, and and just thank you for being there, hanging out with us, okay? And so just remember, everybody, as I always say at the end of the program, don't forget, if you want to know the future, just look for the Forbidden History. It's what they didn't want you to know that we tell right here. I'm Desert Owl, thanking you for tuning in. Be safe, be well, and look for us tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time on the realpublicradio.net, Free America Radio Network. Signing off. Good night.